Harajuku Bunny here. So today's video I'm going to be talking about my experiences auditioning for Disney as a character performer. So I've auditioned for Disney twice, and each of my experiences were different because they were for different roles and also for different parks. So I'm going to be talking about each of my experiences as much as I can, because especially on my second audition I was advised not to talk too much about it, because there is still a chance maybe that it could happen. I have no idea, even though I'm pretty doubtful. But so I'm just going to give you guys as much info about my audition experiences as I can, as well as maybe some general tips or things I noticed that were good or bad for auditioning. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So, the first time I auditioned for Disney was last September actually. I think it was like September 18th or so, 2014. And this was for Tokyo Disneyland. Now, I had previously thought about auditioning for Disney as a character performer, but it never really given me the drive until I saw, oh, Tokyo Disneyland, like, because as much as I love Japan, I was like, okay, this is like the push, like, I want to go. Auditioning for Tokyo Disney was very unique because although it is kind of owned by Disney, it is their performing auditions are more run by a different company, which was kind of interesting, and I found out later on, and I think that had something to do with their audition process. But this took place in Northern Hollywood, California, and it was at Debbie Reynolds' studio, which is like a really famous studio apparently, which I found out later on as well. And I ended up driving down the night before, and then that way I could wake up and get ready for the audition. So the morning of the audition, I was super nervous because I've never done anything like this before. You know, and I get dressed and like try and eat some breakfast even though I'm like super nervous, and then we drive down to the studio. So what I wore was a 3/4 sleeve, a little bit above the knee, black with like multicolored floral print dress, and then Converse, because what the audition website says basically when you're going to go to an audition is to wear clothing that you can like move in, because you're going to be moving, obviously, going to be learning a movement exercise. So I recommend, you know, if you're a dancer and you have dance attire, wear that, or wear things you could work out in, but wear something that looks nice. Do not wear like ratty old stuff, like it's just completely unprofessional. Or if you don't have any of those things, like I think what I wore was pretty decent. There were some people that were in jeans and like a t-shirt. There were some people like super fancy, but you want to wear clothing that you can move in and that's comfortable for you. I recommend do not overdress and don't underdress, which is kind of hard to like pick a specific outfit. What I also recommend, what a lot of girls also did, was wear leggings or yoga pants. You know, if you're all wearing a dress or a skirt, make sure you wear shorts underneath it. As for shoes, don't wear high heels unless they're like dance heels. I think those are okay. For guys, don't wear like super formal clothing. I actually think I even saw somebody in a suit and I was like, you know you're gonna be dancing, right? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they want like you in like athletic type attire. So that's what I recommend for wardrobe. And then, so once I got there, I was going to check in, and I thought maybe they'll collect headshot and resume at that point, but no. So I get my number, which was number 111, which is kind of coincidental to my second audition. But from there, once I got checked in with my number, I was just kind of hanging out in this huge dance studio room with about 200 other people. I think there was all of us in there. There was a lot of people at this particular audition. I think it also, because it is guys and girls, and it's a really cool, you know, opportunity to go, you know, work and live abroad. So I know that they were casting for quite a lot of different characters. For the girls, they were casting for I think almost all the princesses and Tinkerbell, and then for the guys, they were casting for princes and I think maybe some other characters, can't remember exactly. But just looking around the room, you could go, oh my gosh, like that looks like Snow White, or oh my gosh, he looks like a total Disney prince, you know what I mean? Like, it was just kind of fun looking around at people and like typecasting them in my head. But there are some people that I was like totally was like, oh, you know, like they're that character. So once we all they let so many people in and then they cut off after a certain time. They're really important. It's like really important to be timely with Disney because they literally start like when they say they're gonna start. So make sure to be early. And I was pretty early and I was still number 111. So it just tells you how many people show up sometimes for these things. So after they cut off how many people they were letting in, they decided to split us up into 2 different groups. And I was in the second group. So we went to another dance room next door and we hung out for I think around 20 or 30 minutes. And so it was really nerve-wracking because like I knew what they were going to do. They were going to teach them the movement exercise, but I was like, I really want to watch because I'd like to know what they're doing. Yeah, so just sitting in there and I was just like making me even more nervous. So yeah, after that they picked who they wanted out of that group and then they brought us in. So going in there, they split us up into like a couple different groups in there too because there was just so many people. And then they had us go like line up across the room. There was guys on the one side and then girls on the other, and of course there's more girls than guys, but it was really confusing because they had a guy teaching the guy their parts at the same time the girl was teaching our parts, and like it was just really confusing because they're talking at the same time and like you're trying to watch, and it was to me, having no dance experience like on top of that was really difficult because I'm just like trying to pick up a routine really quick. We went over it a couple times and then we like moved up so you could see a little bit better. But by the time we got done like doing it a couple times before we were gonna have to do it on our own, I completely was just like, okay, I totally don't have this, like I feel really uncomfortable, like maybe I should leave now. And then I was like, no, Kelsey, you came all this way, just freaking try. So I was like, but I was still just like, you know what, I've got nothing to lose. I feel like I'm gonna do terrible, and if I do terrible, nothing bad's gonna happen to me. Because the next day I went to Disneyland anyway, so I at least got something happy out of it. So when it came time for us to do it, we did a couple more times in smaller groups, and then after that, we did it in groups of 4. Yeah, groups of 4. And I hated the fact that I got put up right up front, and I was just like, great, I'm right up front, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't remember the routine, like, there's so many things. And this routine, I mean, it wasn't that difficult. Like if you gave me 10 minutes, I'd pick it up, like I'd be totally fine, especially because there was just so many people. It was hard to see and to practice without smacking each other because there was a lot of spinning and whatnot. Yeah, if I would have been given a little bit more time, I think I would have been totally confident in knowing what I was doing. So by the time when it was time for me and like the other people that were going with me to go, I just stared ahead into the, because in dance studios they have the mirrors, stared ahead and tried to watch the other people, and I just, half of the thing I just winged and like made up to look like it was a disaster. I just felt like, oh gosh, this is terrible, like I can't wait for this to be over, like I'm done, like okay, I had the defeatist attitude, which was not the best thing for sure. So after that, you know, like got to go back and watch other people do it, and I felt not as terrible because a lot of people didn't get it and were messing up, and I was like, okay, thank God I'm not the only one, right? So, but then there were some people who were like on point, and I was like, oh, okay. Out of everyone in my group, they took, I think like, I know they took 2 girls for sure. I think they took 2 girls, and they took like a handful of guys. So they were looking for more guys than girls, I think. And I don't know how many they took out of the first group, but considering just after movement exercises, and I think they were also judging you like facially at that point, you know, to only take like maybe 5 or 6 people out of over 100 is like, you know, not very good odds for you. And I know the 2 girls that they took were really short, so I was like, okay, maybe they want, you know, for Tinkerbell. And then the guys, of course, the Disney Prince look. So after that, I was just kind of like, oh man, you know, I don't know if I'd audition for Disney again because like I didn't really enjoy this experience. I just felt like it was really overwhelming, especially with me with like social anxiety and, you know, like having the spotlight on me where I've like literally like no idea what I'm doing was really quite terrifying. But there was another opportunity that came up that literally about had my name on it, because I can't say what role it's for in case it does happen. Although it's not looking likely, because if it would have happened, it would have happened a couple months ago. But in case they end up having these characters after all, I'm not going to give it away because they told us not to. But it does have my name in it. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah, so my first Disney audition experience wasn't the greatest, but I learned a lot, and I think having such a overwhelming experience was actually really helpful for my next experience, because my next experience was like literally total opposite of the first one. So my second Disney audition experience was this March, so March 2015, and it was auditioning for a new characters for Walt Disney World, specifically Epcot. And again, can't really say, but yeah, I saw it on the Disney Auditions website, and I was like, I have to do this, and if I don't try, I'm going to regret it forever. So this one was also in North Hollywood, but it was at a different dance studio, so I kind of knew, like, okay, kind of similar experience. I ended up going, and there were only maybe let's see. Oh no, I was the last one that came in. Like, I thought I was just barely late by like a minute, and I was like, oh, they're not gonna let me in, you know, like Disney's really stickler on time, and I was just, things just ended up getting kind of crazy with the traffic and whatnot. And but I got there like a minute late, and they're like, oh cool, yeah, come on in. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I thought I was gonna get cut, and like it was just not gonna, like, I was like, we came all the way down here for nothing, I'm not even gonna get to go audition. So but yeah, I got in there and I was number 11. So the first time I auditioned, I was number 111. The second time I auditioned, I was number 11. So I just find that kind of funny or weird or coincidental that 11 and like 11 keeps reappearing. I'm like, maybe it's a lucky number, I don't know, or maybe it's a bad number, I have no idea. But yeah, so for this audition, I was the last girl, so there was only 11 girls auditioning. And what I found really interesting is the different types of girls that were there to audition for this role. Some girls dressed in the style or like the characters that these were, which is totally against what Disney tells you to do. Do not ever go to a Disney audition dressed like the character or dressed like the role you're trying out for. It's just don't do it. It's just a taboo, no, don't do it. I ended up taking a dress with me just in case, because like maybe like a dress would be nice, because it was, you know, really cute. It's got bunnies on it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear that one. And then I ended up not wearing that. What I wore was like a cami style tank top, and I wore my Galaxy leggings, and I felt like that actually was really good because it helped me stand out in a good way. It wasn't in a bad way. Like, it helped me like stand out amongst the other auditioning girls, but it wasn't like super out of place for this type of role. So basically what happened is they measured us, which was totally different from my previous audition experience. I mean, I've heard at the auditions that they do measure you if you get to a certain point, but right off the bat, that was the first thing, because for this specific role, they wanted girls in a certain height range, so they had to make sure that you were in that height range. So I measure typically when I've gotten measured at about 5'4". I'm actually like 5'3" 3/4", so usually everybody just says round up. So I just usually say I'm 5'4". Disney measured me at 5'3", which I thought was interesting, but what I've heard that they do is that if they want you in a specific character range, they'll measure you maybe a little bit higher, a little bit lower than you actually are. So they have a term for that, which is Disney height. So like I say, my regular height's like 5'4", and then my Disney height is 5'3". So after we got measured, they took us in another room to go learn the movement exercise. I still remember this one, and I'm not gonna do it, but this one was so much more simple, but it wasn't a dance routine necessarily. I mean, it was, but it was just way easier than the previous one. It wasn't a parade type routine, it was more of just simpler movements. So for this one, it was like an 8 count, and we had to do it a couple of times, and we would practice in front of the mirror. It was really fun because we like practiced it to Destiny's Child, so it was like getting all fierce and fun in there. So I was just like, it was really cool. And the choreography, a lady was super nice and chill, and she's like, you know, like, you gotta put attitude into it and have fun with it, especially because that goes with the role that we were auditioning for. But I had a lot of fun with that routine, and I just felt like I nailed it each time. And but I was still kind of like not fully confident, like I was gonna make it, you know. So after we practiced quite a few times, then they have us go towards the audition table where like the Disney casting director was. We did it in front of her a couple times, and then we did it for real like once. And on my turn, since we had an odd number of girls, they just had me go with one other girl who went again. So I was like, okay, like the spotlight's really on me because I'm the only one who hasn't gone, and I'm like kind of solo in a way, and it actually really worked out in my favor. So I just like totally like nailed the movement exercise. Like I was so on point. I was like so proud of myself. I was just like, yeah, you killed it, you know, but I was still kind of like, okay, like don't get cocky, like just let's see what happens. So I was just like, you know, I don't know if I've got the, you know, look that they're looking for this role. So they call the numbers that they want, and guess who's last? Me! So out of the group of 11, they kept, I think, about 5. So that's about half. All the other girls who made that, who made that cut, were like, I didn't see any real similarities between me and them, which I was like, okay, this is interesting. Like they picked like diverse amounts of things, like not really necessarily like the similar height or look or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'm not quite sure what exactly they're looking for now. Which is always kind of what Disney does. Like you think like, okay, maybe they're looking for this sort of look, and then they like throw you off by picking someone who's totally different than that. So after that, we learned the animation exercise, which is typically like your pantomiming. I've never been in theater, never done like any serious acting or anything, so this was new to me, but I know enough about it to understand the concept. So what they first had us do was, the first animation exercise was Disney themed. So they had us, it was more princessy. I'm not sure if I can tell you guys, so I'm not gonna go into detail. But they had us in groups of 3. I think they took 6 girls now. Okay, anyway, so say they put us in group of 3. So there's 2 groups of 3 girls that we acted out specific characters and did that. And I thought we got that pretty good. And then we did another animation exercise, which I feel like I bombed because I was just like, I can't think of anything good to do for this thing. The one that they gave us for this one, I probably can't say, is they told us to plant a tree. And I was like, okay, steps of planting a tree. You dig a hole, you pour the seeds, you cover the seeds up, you water it, you got sunshine, boom, you get a tree, right? So I kind of did, they had us do it a couple times, because the first time they told us there was too much action on the ground because Disney characters, you have to have a lot of big movements and things like that have to be able to read in the costumes. So the first time didn't quite, I mean, like I thought I was like, okay, I think I did this, but you know, not so good. So then she told us, no, like you guys need to, you know, not be so much on the ground, you gotta, you know, make sure things are big and exaggerated. And I was just like, I don't know what to do for planting a tree, like to make it like big and exciting, you know? So I feel like if I would have had a different scenario to act out, like it might have gone a little bit better. So the second time that I did it, I did like the digging and the covering really quick, and then I kind of did some princessy movements to just feel like, oh, look at my beautiful tree, you know? But yeah, so I felt like the animation exercise part 2 didn't go the greatest, because I was like, the first 2 parts of the audition, I was like, I feel like I totally nailed, right? So I was just kind of like, oh, I don't know. So after that, they asked a couple of us to stay, so I made that cut as well. And then from there, they took headshots of us, profile pictures, full body pictures, and they took headshot and resume. Now with this, I did not have a current headshot that I had taken and brought with me, so all I brought was my resume. So I was glad I did that, because I was like, at least I have something. I never expected to make it that far, so that was cool. And then they took our contact information and said we would be notified within maybe a couple weeks if we were getting casted. So many weeks later, still have not gotten any information from Disney at all. I have talked to some of the girls that were in my audition as well, so if any of them watch this, hello. But yeah, and nobody from the audition that I've spoken to has gotten any notification about that role either. So I'm highly suspecting that they decided not to go and create these new characters at all, because it was supposed to be starting in the summer, and summer is kind of almost over at this point, so I'm not sure that they're gonna have them. Now, if in the future they end up showing up, I'm not sure if we'll be considered for that role either, but who knows? I mean, I could still get a phone call or an email saying, hey, you got cast for Disney. I don't know. I will say that if it is something you've truly wanted to do or really thought about doing, just give yourself the shot and do it, because I know for me, especially in these two instances, if I didn't try, I was gonna totally regret it, because I was like, you never know. You know what I mean? Like, you never know. You might be that lucky person that you're exactly what they're looking for, and you just nail the audition and you get casted and you can have a dream job. So that's basically my experiences. Just kind of my general tips for Disney auditioning. Make sure to dress appropriately. Do bring headshot and resume, just in case, you never know. And have fun, because it really is silly and simple as that sounds. I know I had a ton of fun my second audition, because the first one was just like so nerve-wracking and everything. But I think sometimes it's really easy, especially in that kind of a stressful environment. You're like looking at everybody like, oh my god, you're my competition, you know? Just try and have fun. Like, you know, since I went by myself, it would have been different maybe if you audition with friends, you know, that's always fun. But I think just like absorb it, because at the end of the day, like, the worst that can happen is you not get it, but you know what, you learned a little bit of the inside of Disney magic, which is always cool. And if you can, make a trip to the Disney park afterwards. I know, like, my first audition after, you know, I didn't make it the following day, we went to Disneyland, so it helped cushion the blow a little bit. But yeah, so I would say auditioning for Disney, you know, it is something that the more experience you have, either with theater, dance, whatever, that can only help you. I don't think it would hurt you. Everybody has a little something that they bring, but you never know what exactly that they're looking for. And I think that's what drives a lot of people crazy, because you're just like, was it my face? Was it my dancing? Was it my acting? Like, you know, because it's just kind of like, I want to know, like, how could I have done better? And that's always the thing, is you know that you can always improve. And if you really, like, this is like truly what you want to do, keep auditioning, keep going. You never know, you might make it. So thanks for watching my video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed hearing about my Disney auditioning experiences. If you ever auditioned for Disney, let me know what your audition experience was like. Who were you auditioning for? What parks? When? And that sort of thing. Also, I'm not sure if I will be auditioning for Disney in the future, or maybe I work for Disney in the future, but that would be super cool. We'll have to see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!